beautiful multi-dimensional beings, quantum access beings. Welcome back, or hello if you're new, to another channel reading a message for you beautiful souls. Really interesting was telepathically tuning into the astral collective the other day, and we were on a telepathic thought trail about telepathy. There was a lot of channelings coming in from spirit guides. Again, on this channel, we're unfolding your multidimensional nature. Those of you who find these readings, you are what would be labeled in the 3D as psychically gifted, what you know to be as your multidimensional nature and accessible abilities that all humans and all souls have. It's just that you've incarnated with a heightened sensitivity to be able to perceive these internal processes and forces around that are seemingly invisible or very subtle frequencies. You're actually tuned into these. So why this is very interesting is that you are different. You're wired differently. You're wired with a heightened state of awareness this lifetime. You guys are actually extremely advanced souls. When we look at humans being a race of species, you guys are actually the survivors. You guys are when we say the survival of the fittest, it's very interesting because your senses are adapted so that, you know, you guys are kind of in this survival of the fittest category. Now let me explain. You have heightened empathic abilities, which is energy reading, energy transfer. You have telepathic abilities. Now, for the highly sensitive souls of the collective or the psychically gifted, you guys are actually built for not only survival but thriving. But within this society, the way that it's created can be very triggering. Why? Because we have a higher self-awareness. If you notice, fear is actually an evolved state of frequency. No offense, just as an example, because I love birds, I love pigeons. But some animals you see, you look at, and they're very low self-awareness. When you have a lower self-awareness, you're less inclined to be aware of your environment or your surroundings. If we notice, fear actually tunes us in to be hyper alert about ourselves, our place, and our surroundings, and also the people, energies, or things around us. So as a highly sensitive soul, you are actually more advanced. You're evolved to a heightened level of consciousness, but also genetically, DNA, and the way that your brain is programmed and wired. But also at the same time, this makes you highly advanced at surviving. Why? Because you can read energy of rooms, you can read or notice other people's thoughts or intentions. You can feel unspoken or hidden energies, and these are all traits that can help us move and survive. But at the same time, we're built in a society that's very dysregulating. What does this mean? For the highly sensitive person, we actually thrive in a regulated emotional state, but we actually find it harder to stay regulated. Why? Because we have heightened senses, we have heightened alert senses, and so we can be triggered into that fear or fight or flight response emotionally a bit easier than someone with a lower awareness, okay? Because we're actually picking up, receiving, processing a lot more information about our surroundings. Now, for the light worker path, it's been a journey of connecting with higher truths, connecting and creating safe spaces to feel regulated, because we're receiving the most and accessing our most highest, I want to say potential, but quantum accessibilities when we're relaxed. You guys may find that even in survival states, even in burnout, even in states of lower frequencies, you are still accessing your heightened senses or heightened abilities. It's just that in these relaxed states, when we are regulated, is when you might be a bit more, even more expanded into things like lucid dreaming, astral travel, remote viewing, more of these like downloads from different frequency planes is what you experience when you're regulated. But even when you find yourself tired or burned out, you'll notice that you actually still have these heightened senses. You still have telepathic abilities. One of the things that's coming through in today's reading, being channeled through, was interesting because it, again, like I said, was this altering form of telepathy where you're not feeling what other people's thoughts are necessarily, that that is one form, but you're actually connected to the feeling of other souls internally inside themselves, the same as you're connected to your inner awareness. You can feel your inner awareness. You can feel it move through energetic frequencies. You can feel it move through maybe thought trails, and maybe the movement or the motion that different thought trails have, different energy trails. You can feel your own soul, inside or outside of you. You have a heightened connection to what we call is your awareness. And obviously our awareness is not contained to our vessel. We can move our awareness to something outside of ourselves. We can move our awareness to a place in our body, like our hand or our eye or our arm. But the thing is that your awareness is, non-localized. You can move your awareness. That's why you guys go off in daydreams and thought travels, where you become very, almost a form of out-of-body experience, because you have such a strong connection to that parallel essence of consciousness that is non-localized. Okay, that's what we say, is that our souls and consciousness are non-localized, but we have a perception through this vessel and through this vessel's senses. So what's coming through is that, again, that feeling of awareness everyone has. It's consciousness moving through us. We can call it souls, we can call it spirits, we can call it life force energy. But at the end of the day, you guys are not only telepathic or, noticing that you pick up on others' emotions or others' thoughts, maybe others' funny thoughts or insecurities, just thoughts that are unspoken you pick up on. But it's not only that you pick up on. If you notice, a lot has been drawn to light about what you notice. You notice finer details, you notice subtle energies, and you also are noticing as well what others notice. So another unspoken form of telepathy is where others' awareness is drawn to. So again, this reading can be applied to self. It can also be applied to animals, to children, to other humans and souls that are similar in frequency to us, in general, the outside world. A lot of our multidimensional experience is unraveling and unfolding. We're learning about it through interaction with consciousness itself, this outer reality, this physical plane, or other souls in it. And something that you may notice, you guys, is that you don't just telepathy emotions or thoughts, you actually notice where other people's awareness is or moves to. So this can be someone sat inside themselves, they can be in a room, in a classroom, in a workspace. If someone attaches or notices something in that room, you will notice what they notice. Now, this is very interesting. So this is basically feeling other people's conscious awareness, what it notices or what it tunes into. Now, why I mentioned the survival thing at the beginning, because if you realize, a lot of these are advanced ways to connect to consciousness in higher levels or states. They are also hand-in-hand survival tactics or techniques as well, because it says, or you can use a lot of information from what particular souls notice, what their awareness is jumping to, or what they notice about other people, what you feel they notice about you, what you feel they notice about artwork or spaces they're in. We actually don't realize how much information we pick up on analyzing other people and where their conscious awareness actually tunes into. Why? Because our conscious awareness is tuned into specific frequencies. The things that we notice, especially for souls like you notice tiny details, you notice the smaller things, the subtle energies, maybe subtle movements, subtle tones in voice changes, subtle movements, or say someone scratches their head, they're processing energy. You notice these smaller things, smaller details. There's different levels of noticing, or we could say there are infinite frequencies that lay over one another. Now, in these infinite frequencies, there's different energies, and we can be tuned into different frequencies, which actually alters what we're noticing. Okay, so this is interesting because you guys see a lot of synchronicity, repeating numbers, you see a lot of symbolism. You actually notice the frequency of the subconscious manifested or materialized in the physical realm. There can be people who notice very surface level things, or what we maybe would perceive or call surface level things, or things of different frequencies. Things that people notice can also attach to observations, which can turn or evolve into judgments. Okay, so this is a survival tactic in a way that you guys actually read into people at such a deep level. You process so much information, even on first meeting someone or being around someone, and you are seen to have these heightened survival mode. This heightened survival mode senses, which again, yes, we can have an experience in a dysregulated state. We can also have heightened survival mode senses in a regulated state as well. And for you guys, you seem to read people to an extremely deep, accurate, and detailed and refined level. And the way that your survival mechanisms work is that you're really tuned into others, what they're tuned into, because what they're tuned into tells you a lot about them and maybe what they'd be tuned into with you. And not only that, what frequency they're tuned into. It's not just about what they're tuning into or noticing about others or this or that or you. It's about the fact that you can tell what state of consciousness, vibration, or frequency someone's soul is operating from what they're tuning into, what they're noticing, and the types of energies they're interacting with inside themselves. So obviously you guys with these heightened survival mode senses, you guys, I like to call this shape-shifting in a particular way. You read people to such a deep soul level, and then it almost determines how you operate, navigate, or interact with that particular soul at that level of consciousness or awareness. You may word things in a way that you know will be receivable because you guys often speak in higher frequencies. Remember, words carry vibration. The way that you structure your sentences, the words that you use, is not always comprehensible to particular souls. In fact, a lot of this deep reading is not just survival, it's actually could be connected to survival because it helps you actually connect, attune yourself vibrationally with other souls around you to be in the most state of connected receptibility. So basically, there is this essence of, oh, you meet someone or you're around someone for a while, you know how to word things to them in a way that they would comprehend. Because you already essentially, not that you already know them, but you almost have a glimpse into how, or a window into their soul, a window into their consciousness. You probably, from observing what they notice, etc., can tap into their subconscious programmings and therefore can also maybe divinate or pull on specific experiences that have formed or created those programmings, because energy is never created nor destroyed. We also have this shape-shifting ability in a sense that you may, by what you telepathically observe within others, know maybe types of humor, types of things to say to them. What I want to link this in with as well is if anyone is familiar with masking or any types of neurodivergence, this survival mechanism can be a highly evolved state of neurodivergence, but also what I see neurodivergence as is, I like to see that as the light workers, the multidimensional beings. It's those of us who are differently wired, or we're wired differently, and we do operate differently. And so it's interesting because you as a multidimensional being tend to be a mirror for other people, but again, you tend to operate in all states of consciousness and you can tap into all versions of frequency, which means you can connect with every single genre of person or niche of person because you can tune into their energy, know their state of consciousness, or know how to appropriately present or act in a way that can connect or seem normal. And again, this links into that masking because you're essentially reading people to a deeper state or level in order to move through this world, move through interactions, social interactions, society. Because again, like I say, why is this relevant? Because you're a multidimensional being, which means you don't have one set setting to the person that you are. Your identity is extremely fluid because you encompass the whole of the infinite archetypes of the collective inside yourself. So this deep reading that happens very subconsciously and very naturally for you also allows you to connect to aspects of yourself that are most appropriate for particular connections or interactions or situations. Again, this can be seen as an advanced survival mechanism because if you are limited to one form of communication, if you're limited to one form of understanding, perspective, view, you tend to not be able to connect with people, step inside their world. And with survival or, thriving or, being in this human incarnation, we tend to find that connectiveness is, what we lean to. We lean to connectedness. Why? Because we're stronger in groups for survival, again, we're linking back to our primal instincts, we are stronger in groups. We can find support within groups. We can find this interconnectedness very empowering. It's like a very sought out quality that all humans will seek within life is connectedness and connectivity. So you see that your sense of self, your abilities, your survival mechanisms actually allow you for a heightened state of connectivity with many different versions of frequencies of souls or of the collective consciousness. Why I also find this extremely interesting is because even though you're someone who could probably connect with other people or souls to an extremely profound, deep, subconscious, personal, intimate level, you're also someone who may actually step away or avoid so much interactions or connectedness. Maybe not so, but for a lot of you, because of this mechanism that you have to read so deeply into others and you process a lot of information, it's actually very, very taxing on the physical vessel. Why? Because you are actually filtering through others' subconscious programmings, others' frequencies, others' feelings and emotions. And of course, if we look, we are energetic beings. We're running programs through us. We're running energy. A bit like when you run programs through a computer and the computer can heat up because it's working. And so with all this extra processing, yes, makes you extremely highly advanced and highly attuned, highly intuitive, highly able to survive many different environments because, again, linking back around again, some of you may have, you're born this way, you are always a multidimensional being, but some of you, you know about the kind of nature versus nurture. Some of you could have been nurtured in a way to actually evolve into heightened states of survival mechanisms, maybe because of your environments growing up, or survival tactics in general. This could be from workplace environments, schools, this can be from family or friends. Something about intuitive perception, being able to read a room or read someone's energy in order for survival in a particular ways could have also advanced these qualities that you experience now. But in general, you also were your soul is this way in general. You notice different things to other people. As much as this has been heightened by maybe environments that you've been in, we could look at those environments as tools of practice for the practice environments for the tools you already have that you're able to hone in on the more that you can experience them, and you only need to tap into them to experience them if they're necessary. So you may have been put in this incarnation in states where you feel like you've had to heighten these senses in order to survive, because again, you're tapping into this higher nature of yourself, this interconnectedness where we can telepathy, we can feel others' awareness, where it's drawn to what they're noticing, what they're thinking, what their intentions are, energy that never lies. So you're tuned into energy in this way. But like I say, this really reaches into many different areas. Yes, we can look at it as survival dysregulation, or we can look at it as psychic abilities, psychic gifts. We can look at it as nature. We can look at it as nurtured through our environments. We can look at it as advanced qualities, or we can look at it as disadvantages, because like I say, this is very taxing on the vessel. You may find yourself more overwhelmed, especially within crowds or bigger or larger environments, or workplaces, or you may find socializing or interacting with particular frequencies of souls more taxing than others, because of the frequencies that you're channeling or tapping into. You also pick up or tap into, it's a bit like Pandora's box. So there can be a lot of unspoken or stored energy within others as well, the same as ourselves, that we seem to simultaneously experience because we are connected to the collective stream of consciousness. So we do experience all these programmings we meet within others, within the self. It's just that within ourselves, we're separate to the programmings. We're more in an observer view within the self. So this is what's coming through very strongly in this reading, what the notes I have. So yeah, you're really tuned into other people's awarenesses, but you can also feel your own, and that's why you can tune into others, because your awareness is able to be non-localized. So This telepathy and noticing energetically where others' awareness tethers could all be considered, like we said, survival techniques or tactics developed. Can also be considered highly advanced telepathic abilities or psychic abilities. You actually have these advanced survival instincts, but it does mean that you're more highly aware, sensitive, and alert. It means that we have to do more to stay regulated because we are actually at a higher state of functioning or operation to processing information. But it also means that we're hypervigilant. It means that we notice a lot more. We, from noticing a lot more, build a different view or picture of life, our perception of reality, the people in it, the way we all interact. You're again breaking through this fourth wall in many ways. It connects you stronger to your intuition, or your intuition is extremely loud, because again, these things that we're saying could be normal things for you, but they're actually advanced traits or qualities, you guys. So, and again, it's only because in as well, like lower spiritual community tends to shun a lot of lower frequencies like fear and things like that, but it is actually the lower frequencies, and again, that go hand in hand with the higher. In fact, a lot of our intuitive abilities or psychic abilities are stemmed from survival qualities or traits that are actually advanced survival states of interaction. Like we say, hypervigilance is actually a state of survival or a trait of survival mode. But actually can help us notice things about problems that other people can't see. It can make us think outside the box in particular ways. So it's balanced both ways. So, you know, just like to mention that as well. Because there is no right, wrong, good or bad. It's just what we choose to give meaning to. And a lot of the time they do go hand in hand. So again, I like to bring awareness to this because when you are a soul with heightened awareness, you tend to break through the veils, which means you tend to touch upon these higher truths or take a more spiritual path or understand the deeper meaning of reality or consciousness, that we're all connected, that, you know, reality isn't quite what it seems. It's all a reflection of our programmings in our mind. And we see that the more we observe our mind's programmings, the more we actually see them manifest. The more we're an outside observer to our thoughts, the more we see our thoughts interact with reality, more than maybe someone that is inside of their thoughts and experiencing them alongside reality. But why I like to say this is because it's interesting because, yeah, we can actually... on this spiritual path, you know, we understand frequencies, we understand the importance of thoughts or the creation of reality. That can lead us into quite a dangerous loophole within the spiritual path of shunning lower frequencies, which lower frequencies are already shadow aspects within the collective. They do not need more separation. They do not need more rejection. Instead, we need to be able to see their connectivity within ourselves, within our programmings, within our lives for, you know, good and bad, or all varying aspects. And so it's interesting because on the spiritual path, a lot of people fear lower frequencies. We don't want to think lower thoughts. We don't want lower timelines. But actually, as a multidimensional being, we have to understand we're not experiencing frequencies in separation. We're experiencing frequencies in their infinite coexisting forms internally. So we're never only positive, we're never only negative. We have infinite frequencies inside ourselves. And so yes, we can tune into different vibrations or different frequencies, but there's normally a reason if we're experiencing a lower frequency, why we're there in that vibrational plane, why we're visiting that vibration, etc., etc. Because there are perspectives, loops, or navigations we can learn about the primal self, human nature, within these altering frequencies, whether they be higher or lower. And it also, exploring these lower frequencies, leads us to discoveries like this, okay? That it can become very, what's that word? It can become very... or you can have an experience of cognitive dissonance if you're on the spiritual path and start to reject these lower frequencies, because we have to understand that as a multidimensional being or a sensitive person, we're actually more susceptible to lower frequencies. We're not as numb, we're not as tuned out. So we actually are more susceptible to lower frequencies. Not that we're more susceptible, but we feel them to amplified levels. So we experience them to amplified levels. So this is why why a lot of us are drawn to nature or higher frequencies environments, solitude, or particular environments with particular color frequencies or lights or ambience. There's specific things that is heightened for us, and it is harder for us to at points than someone with a lower awareness to be regulated, because we have that heightened survival. But we're also understanding our multi-dimensional nature is intertwined within that. We're also understanding and seeing society different, or the world we've created differently, because we experience and process more information. The background noise that would be like white noise to somebody else is very detailed and vivid to us metaphorically. So it tends to be us, reclusing into our hermit modes, or, finding those kind of therapeutic activities or spaces for us to actually fully filter through and process all the information we're receiving, because you're also tapping into information and receiving it even when you're on your own, because we do have that cord connection to people in our lives or souls in the collective. You could spend a day inside all day by yourself, but you might have particular emotions come up that aren't necessarily stemmed to your physical environment or what's occurring in your reality. And it can be interesting to source where these energies or frequencies are coming from. They can be lower or they can be higher. And so what you're realizing as well is you're extremely tapped into, quantumly entangled with the collective consciousness. So whether you're around them, a particular person or not, a particular collective or not, you still experience this. And again, this is a part of your heightened senses. You are very in tune, even without being there. You're very in tune with the world, the universe, environments, locations, people. So it's all about understanding our multidimensional nature to this maybe more advanced outlook, where we're not seeing things as wrong with us or this or that, but understanding the interconnectedness, or where information connects together within the bigger picture that actually makes sense for us as multidimensional beings, having a incarnation from a heightened state of consciousness, in and perceiving this reality plane, a sense of self and others as well. So yeah, that is what I have coming through. I think that is it as well. Yeah, and the last point was about the whole survival thing, with fear being actually prompted forward thinking, and prompted forward thinking is actually generating and running. We have to think, what is the future and past? And how does that quantumly operate? So with the fear, sometimes it can help us generate and walk through future and past, or potential variations of experience based on infinite quantum possibility. So how can you visually live through something that's never happened? You generate that within the mind. You don't just generate and make that. You tap into it. You're tapping into other timelines that exist in nonlinear time that can be stemmed to potentials of vibration you're experiencing now. So again, understanding the quantum nature of yourself allows us this co-creational power to actually work with our multidimensional nature, work with ourselves in a way that we're understanding timelines a bit better, understanding timelines in their infinite forms, in a sense that we can feel where we're aligned to and trajected to from this particular vibrational point. But our vibration can change any second, any day, any moment. And so our alignment can change any moment. This realization opens up the epiphany that we are actually free to align with different variations or alterations of reality based on our current positioning of frequency. So it also means and gives us the leeway that when we feel negative, when we feel aligned with bad outcomes, it also means that we remember nothing is set in stone. It's all dependent on our current vibrational alignment. So that is what I have channeling through. That's where I'm going to leave this channel reading and message for you beautiful souls today. I love you so much, and hopefully this brought some clarity or confirmation in any way, shape or form to your multidimensional nature, your quantum accessing nature. I love you guys so much, and I will see and speak to you all in the next reading, beautiful souls. Stay sensitive, stay telepathic, and I will speak to you soon. Mwah.